Okay, mom, this is what he's saying. Okay, young man, this is what she's saying. You're saying the same thing. The language is different. You're talking about young people who came into technology, it was just there. And you're talking about older adults who created it, and learned it at its infancy, right? So the language that kids are using now doesn't translate to older adults. So they just don't talk. We don't have deep conversations. We don't have difficult conversations in the community between elders and young people.
This is a Lirae Journey podcast on the McKissick Health Podcast Network. I'm Dr. Sherella Cupid, your host. The Lirae Journey podcast is a space for Black women to choose themselves. For season 3, the theme is Love and. We'll continue the Sister Circle conversations with Black women from different stages of life within various roles regarding personal, community, and professional. The intention of the season is to continue and start conversations on the meanings, experiences, and practices around love in numerous areas. This is our grounding season. Because Lirae means love is real and eternal. So sis, let's practice love. So today we have Dr. Michelle C. Sermon. I'm really excited to be in conversation with her. You have seen her on previous episodes of the Lirae Journey podcast. So Dr. Sermon, can you introduce yourself in a couple of sentences, please?
Sure. So I just use words. I didn't want to do sentences, only because I'm not here for the bio and all of that, but I do want to name my roles, right? Because that is a part of who I am and my identity. So I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a niece, I'm a friend, I'm an educator, I'm a healer, and I'm a researcher. And all of that is related to who I am and how I show up in the world as a Black woman. So everything I do is for and about Black people first. And then how that affects others, great. But I start there because I feel like the healing that needs to happen in our communities first. So that's who I am.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What brings you to this space?
You, as I shared with you before, and your vision for sister circles and bringing Black women together to have meaningful conversations. So yeah, that's why I'm here. Your invitation, anytime you invite me to come, it's going to be a yes. It's just a matter of us figuring out the time through all of our individual roles, what's a good time for us to come together. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to be with you, Sherella. You know that. Dr. Cupid.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate that. So if you could name this season of your life, what title would you give it?
Yeah, so that was a tough question, and you gave me the questions previously, and I've pondered over them for the past couple of weeks. And a few things came up. So for me, this is a period of exploration. I'm going into different season in my life. The children are growing up, and so I'm trying to figure out what's next, right? My youngest will be a 6th grader next year, middle school. And so a lot of my identity has been tied up into who they are. And so I'm trying to find hobbies and find other ways to express myself and use my time. So I'm in a period of exploration, in a period of revelation, looking for meaning in things that are happening and trying to understand my role in things that are happening. Personally, globally, internationally, like all of those, locally, how I'm showing up. And then awakening, right? Awakening to new ways of knowing and new ways of seeing things. So yeah, I'm in that season. And so I'm just trying to stay aware, and acknowledge that everything comes from someplace, and to not take things so seriously. And in a sense that it upsets me, and it's just trying to stay grounded in everything happens for a reason. What is the meaning in this? And let me find my way. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. How old is your oldest? So you have a rising sixth grader and a
My oldest,
rising.
yeah, so my oldest is 19. She's a college freshman going into her sophomore year. Then I have a rising senior in high school, who will also be leaving for college. I was saying that this morning, like, wow, she'll be a senior because we're, nearing the end of the school year. So she's ending her junior year and going into her senior year. And then my son he's in the ninth grade now, going into the 10th, and then the fifth grader going into the sixth grade.
Okay.
So yeah, and they stay busy and they keep us busy. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster these past couple of years. So yeah, now my college student is home and she's out of the rhythm of the house, if that makes sense. So she is in her own rhythm because she's been in college for a year. And so we have to reacclimate her to what it's like to live here.
Okay.
Yeah, I went down here this morning and every light was on, the TV was on. I said, wait a minute. Come on, you got to put some on the light bill, girl. Cause I mean,
I felt that was coming.
oh my goodness. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm in this space. I'm trying to, I had a friend who said, well, Michelle, you remember we were in college? I said, yeah, I do. And I try to reflect on that and what that was like for me, to try to show some compassion and some give with her, but I was different. It's just
Okay.
different.
Okay.
Anyway,
Maybe you'll share more as we continue in this conversation
yeah,
of these
yeah,
differences, right?
yeah, yeah.
So in this season, as you have titled it, Exploration, Revelation, and Awakening, how are you defining love?
So, in this season, I'm defining it by showing gratitude, um, for everything. Um, in the trees and in the rain, and like in the things that we have our society has deemed as not great things, right? I'm just trying to find gratitude in it, and setting intention. That was something that a theme that came up for me a couple of months ago, and everybody was saying, oh, gotta be in gratitude and be in gratitude, and I dismissed it at first, but then when it kept coming back, right? I'm in this season of exploration, revelation, right? And it kept coming back. I said, wait a minute, what is this gratitude thing? And then somebody just out of the blue, I was at a car dealership getting my car serviced. And this young lady started talking to me, and I was saying to her, yeah, my sister had talked about gratitude. And she said, yeah, somebody talked to me about gratitude. And so what I've tried to do is, she gave me the formula, right? She said, I wake up in the morning and I start my day with being thankful for things and showing gratitude for things. And then I set my intentions for the day. And I said, wow, that's a powerful thing. I said, I'm gonna try that. And let me tell you, Sherella, when you do it, it makes the world of difference, because you don't center on the things that go wrong. You center on the things that go right, and you focus there, and it makes for a more productive day. And she shared this and she said, I've only been doing it a week, but it works. I said, well, I'm going to try it because you're sharing it with me. And I'm at a car dealership, you know, not expecting to receive a message, but there it was, right? And so that's why I said I'm in this space where I'm open and trying to see where the messages are and you know, exploring different parts of exploring what people are saying and how people are experiencing life and how that reflects back on me, you know, what am I giving that allows people to share with me, right? It's like this give and take. I don't know, it's beautiful. It's hard to explain, but it's happening. And I feel like it's because I am showing and sharing love in some way. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I think people often say like you have to create the space for people to treat you as you want to be treated. So if you're in a space of openness, then your energy would exude that. So therefore people may feel as though, oh, it's safe to be open with Michelle because she has created that space to be open. So that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I took it in, like what you
Yeah.
shared just now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So within waking up and having gratitude and intentions, like how do you check in with yourself through the day, right? So I wake up, I'm grateful for these things, or these feelings, these relationships, and these are my intentions for the day. Like how do you check in with yourself?
When those negative thoughts and feelings come up, when that feeling of you know, if somebody says something, right, that could send you in a different direction, because I started my day with gratitude, I don't go there. I go in the other direction. I'm like, okay, they're just having a bad day. Let me see if there's something that I can say that will help turn their ship, right? And upright their mood. And so it could be just a smile. It could be, oh, wow, you know, you look great today. Or, you know, is everything okay? When folks come at me wrong, it's like, is everything okay? So it is because I start there in my day. I don't start with, I have this to do, I have that to do, I have da, 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 da. I start with, oh, I'm grateful for waking up. I'm grateful for having a job to go to. I'm grateful for having my family, like, and just showing gratitude for all of those things. I'm even grateful for that little pain because last year I didn't have it, but I'm a year older, so I'm grateful for it, right? Um, and then saying, yes, I have all of these things to do. So what I plan to do today is this. So I plan to go to the office. I plan to grade the papers. I plan to, you know, leave the office, get to the kids safely, get them where they need to, like those. And when I set those intentions, while they are tasks, because I've set them in a way, it doesn't allow for other things to interfere with that because I've made them manageable, if that makes sense. Right. So if I do more than the intention that I've set, that's great. But, you know, because I've set the intention, at least those things I know will get accomplished today. So that's how I kind of check in with myself. It's like, did I meet my goal today? Yeah, I did. Okay. Oh, I feel good about that. Right. And so I show gratitude the next morning. Ooh, I'm grateful for having, you know, done what I was supposed to do yesterday. So yeah. I hope
And
that
that
makes
connects. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
yeah.
It makes sense. It connects to this importance of routinely like self-reflection instead of just like busying through the day. I know we have been socialized to have this quote unquote grind culture,
Yep.
but like what does it mean to slow down? So therefore I'm doing more by doing less.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
So in thinking about this season in your life, what are you unlearning concerning love and self?
So, we get a lot of messaging and I've struggled with it. And that's why this conversation is good for me. I've struggled with a lot of the messaging that we get around self-love and self-care, because it doesn't come with instruction. And it's intended to do good and to get people to thinking about it, but most people don't know what that means and how to do it, right? And so while we will go and get our nails done and we'll go and do these things that make us feel good, when we say we're caring for ourselves, we still walk back into chaos, right? And not understanding, while in the moment, yes, I had some relief, but overall, I'm not finding relief and opportunity to really care for myself and love myself, right? And then because the other piece to that is that idea that I have to do it by myself. I have to do it for me instead of thinking about it as a collective. And how can I love myself by caring for somebody else, by showing some compassion, some gratitude, extending grace to people as a form of self-love. So I don't know, it's complicated. And so I think what I'm unlearning is I'm unlearning following other people's definitions of these things and being okay with that. Another thing that's coming up, I'm working on some trauma trainings that I'll be presenting later on this summer. And, in trauma, shame is a running theme. And so this week, shame has come up as a theme, right? And I had a conversation with my daughter's principal yesterday, and she brought it up and she said, I did my job. I did a great job as a parent because my son, he didn't understand what shame meant, right? And so she said, I did a great job. And I said, wow, that's an interesting perspective, because shame has been coming up for me. And as a kid, I was shamed, and especially in the Black community, shame is something that keeps you in order, right? Our religious institutions instill shame in order to make us behave a certain way, but it doesn't always work. It just makes it worse a lot of times. But there is, where's the line between a healthy amount of shame, right? That gives you a sense of self determination, and and that line of where shame becomes something that's detrimental to the individual. So I'm unlearning a lot of things. But those are the two things that have come up for me in the past couple of weeks, as far as unlearning, the traditional ways in which we talk about shame, and unlearning, unlearning to take on other people's definitions of what self-love and self-care or love for others mean.
So within that, can you share how you are defining shame?
How am I defining it? I don't know that I've gotten that far in my reflection. I think in a lot of ways it is like this idea of determining for yourself, but then that's not it either. I don't know, Sherella.
Okay.
I'm not there. I don't know that I'm there yet, but it's something that came up for me and I found it interesting. And I talked to my husband and I talked to my sister about it yesterday. And, because my sister yeah, you know, I get it, right? So where is that line? So I don't know that I can define shame other than to think now where I didn't think it was necessary that yeah, there's some necessity in it. You know, I'm in the academy, I teach, and I have students who, when they don't experience shame, you know, when we were in school, we had to go up to the blackboard. My husband was saying this, we got shamed at home, we got shamed in church, we got shamed at school. You know, you go up to the blackboard and you have to stand there until you can figure out the problem. That's shameful, you know, because the teacher knew you didn't do your work. And so they send you up to the board, and that shame made everybody else be prepared, right? And the hope was that you would be prepared later the next time. Um, but we don't do that anymore. And so you have students who just don't show up, but they expect to get an A in the class. So I'm like, wow, you got these expectations that you could just not do work and still succeed. I don't know where that comes from. So I don't know that I have a definition, but I'm seeing all of these things that are just, but I'm coming to the realization that a healthy amount of shame is good. But what does that mean? Right. And that will mean something different for everybody. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have a definition.
Yeah, it seemed as though, ironically, that you defined it in your explanation.
I did.
I think so. It seems as though to shame someone or to practice shame is to put the expectation on them of what you want them to be.
Okay.
If I'm shaming Michelle, I'm saying Michelle should be this. And if you're
Right.
not this, then you must be this, right? So it's like not allowing that person, like you said, to be themselves. The fact that you said, oh, I was shamed, I had to learn from my mistakes and come to being me. Like, what would it mean if instead of shaming folks to be who we want them to be, we facilitated spaces for people to realize who they are?
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, no, I think she's actually defining shame based upon how she was treated. And it makes sense, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't have children, right? But I don't remember, I'll have to find it. I was in a talk and she was also an educator and she talked about discipline. She's also a Black woman. I believe she was from the South. And she said, if we think about discipline, a discipline is a message.
Hmm.
What message are you giving your children, or what message are you giving students? Like, what do you want them to become? You can discipline them to have a growth mindset and to believe in them, but you can also discipline to have a fixed mindset, like, oh, you can't arrive above this bar because I don't know, like I'm not providing the resources, I'm not practicing grace, right? Like all of these things that we place in front of students or children is to let them know, hey, you will not exceed up above this bar because this is what's set. This is an expectation, right? So I'm thinking a little bit differently. Instead of shaming people, if we are educators, if we are like parental figures, what discipline are we instilling in the youth versus how are we shaming the youth? Because to me, that leads to trauma. Because I don't want anyone to be Sherella. I want them to be themselves.
Right.
And what does that mean? Like for our relationship, right? Because of course that requires me to self-reflect and be mindful of the messages that I may be projecting that I'm not even aware of. And I know now it's like, what does it mean for parents to be vulnerable? Because I know
Yeah.
for me growing up, like I didn't see my mom be like, you know, cry, for example, whether or not that was tears of joy or tears of sadness. And I think now it's important for children to see their parents as whole human beings and not just, oh, this is my mom who provides for me. And I think that helps a lot for folks to like unlearn the expectation, like, oh, my parents should have been my hero, and if they weren't, then they failed me. Like, no, like they're complex beings as well. So I think as like I'm getting older, it's like, okay, like how do I practice grace as a daughter? Looking back, right? Because you said like back in the day, like we went to the blackboard, we got shamed if we didn't know it. But what if that person was dyslexic and it wasn't diagnosed?
Right.
right? They could have tried their darndest, but they just didn't have the resources. So instead of like meeting them where they needed, you saw within them like, oh, perhaps that student is lazy.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
how I'm thinking of it now. Like, what messages am I sending the youth? And also like what messages am I allowing into my space to help me through? Because we are living in some really, like you said, traumatizing times, right? Our feed in regards to like so many wars, internal, external, national, global, all of these things that we are ingesting on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
That's how I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. And when you talk about when you, in the context of love, what you just said is that we don't lead necessarily with love, right? We lead with shame and discipline as a form of love, right? Because you'll hear people say, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't say anything. I just let you go out here and do what you want to do. Um, Instead of saying, hey, can we have a conversation about your behavior and how that might show up and how that might hurt, right? Hurt you and hurt others. But then you have to have people, we don't have a culture that necessarily embraces and allows for that. Yeah, it's interesting. Allows to have a conversation about how behavior shapes and hurts and harms, because people always go to, well, it wasn't my intention to hurt you. Okay, that may be the case, but that doesn't mean it didn't hurt, right? And so, can we have a conversation about how I'm hurt right now? And you be okay with the fact that you did it? And let's get past that. Like, for me, that's love. To say you hurt me, can we talk about it? Can you accept that and receive that? And we move forward. But see, we're in a culture where people want to hold on to the hurt, not want to hold on, but they hold on to the hurt because the person that hurt them can't receive the hurt. And there's no room, no grace, no space to explore it and say, it's okay. I'm human, you're human, it happens. Can we move on? I don't know.
It's good. I
Yeah.
think it takes vulnerability. I think who's it, Brene Brown, a lot of her work on vulnerability, right? It's like not expecting an outcome, even though of course we wish for the outcome of healing or restoration, acknowledgement. It's being courageous to just take that step and have the conversation. But sometimes even when you have those conversations and you say, hey, like you hurt me or I didn't appreciate what you did, that person may not be ready to receive it in that moment because of course it's a heavy conversation. Right. But I think when the person doesn't return back and continue the conversation, then it can feel as like compounded hurt. And it's like, okay, well, I've tried and this person has not returned. It's like, what does this mean for our relationship? Like, do I put up this wall because they have shown themselves that they don't care to go through this healing process with me? Or like you said, we're not socialized to have these conversations, so they don't even have the tools to have the conversation without feeling as though you're villainizing them, like their entire being.
Yeah. 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 So that's why I think I hope I started. I thought I did. I wanted to if I didn't, saying that this is such an important conversation. And I struggled when you sent me your script, and the questions. I struggled with thinking about, well, how do I even, because I was thinking in my mind how I'm conditioned to think about loving myself. It's like I really don't take the time to, right? I'm in my head, right? Judging and shaming, to love myself. But then when I thought about it, this is why we weren't supposed to have the conversation last weekend. because I had to go through what I've gone through this week with the conversation around shame and all of that. I had to think about it. It's like, but I do, because I'm caring for other people. That's a form of me loving myself, because that's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm living in my purpose. I'm moving in my purpose. And what I found is sometimes it's harder to do it with people who are closer to you than it is for people who are more removed from you, right? Because the emotions are so much stronger, and it's easier to get hurt because you are more vulnerable with family and close friends than you are with people who are just co-workers maybe, or, because I can go to work, man, they can say whatever. It's like, okay. You don't like me? I'm good with that, right? Because I'm here to do a job, and I do my job and I do it well, right? But when I come home, it's like, you hurt my feelings. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Why are your feelings? It's so different thing. And it's so I think that's a conversation too. Like for me, how do I show the same compassion to the people who are closest to me? But the expectation, right? We set these expectations. Well, you know me. So I don't mean it like that. I don't mean to hurt you, right? But yeah, even though I know it, it still hurts. So can we have a conversation about it? Um, yeah. So this is a necessary conversation, and just leading with that conversation of love and what does it mean, and yeah.
So in thinking about you recognizing that you do love yourself through your relationship with others, what are you learning concerning love, self, and community?
Um, I'm learning that it's not as straightforward or easy as we want to believe that it is. It's very complex. Um, I think that for me, as I said, committing to others more and giving to others as a form of love is valuable. And it does allow you to see people as human beings who have the same feelings, thoughts, desires, not the same, but they have them, right? As I do as a human being. And so how can we meet there, as human beings, and wanting to see one another thrive? Um, yeah, I think that's what I'm learning. People will say, I was having a conversation with these two women. We were talking about working on a project together. And Sherella, you got a PhD. I got a PhD. And so people want to show respect, no, call me Michelle, we're having a conversation, we're working together, we're colleagues, and I said to them, I said, if having the doctorate, because like I know, high school diploma opens up one level of access, bachelor's opens up another level of access, master's opens up another level, doctorate opens up another level of access. But like I know, we're human beings on each level, right? And so, but my thing was, if having a doctorate does not allow me to give it back to the people who need it the most, or to create opportunity and give access to people who need it the most, then it's no good to me. It doesn't serve me. I didn't do it for me. I did it for others, right? Um, and so, saying that, those are the things that I'm learning, is that it's all about, for me, it's all about being in community and in service to others and all of that. is one big loop, right? Which makes it complicated because you have individuals in there with their own thoughts and ideas and feelings. But people are just so angry, and it hurts me that people are angry. And they respond in anger and not in love.
Mm.
You know, I don't know.
Okay. And this may tie into the next question, which is, what would you offer younger sisters concerning self and community?
Yeah. If you can give it, be open to receive it. There's just so much anger. I mean, it's so rampant. And I just wish I could take it away. And there's so much hurt, and people rely on external means of satisfaction, like to help feel better. And so for younger sisters, I would say try to find those places in yourself where you find peace and gratitude and fulfillment. Because fulfillment doesn't come from the outside, how you adorn yourself. It serves some purposes, right? Because you look good, you feel good. But if you don't feel good and you're looking good to try to help yourself feel good, that's not going to sustain you. Do the work, go there, get in therapy, talk to elders who you trust. Not all elders can give you what you need because they haven't done their work. And they're still angry and bitter and need to work on themselves. But I had a student, I don't know if I'm saying too much. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I did. I had a student.
If you don't want to talk about a student, that's totally all right.
No, it's fine. I know how to talk about it and it not be
Anonymity.
Yeah. And this person avoided me all semester because they had asked me for a favor, and I, did provided them what they asked me for. And then when it was time to acknowledge, and not that I needed acknowledgement, but to say, hey, thank you for that. This happened. Please come and be a part of this experience because you were a part of helping me get to this place. There was no acknowledgement. Or no invitation to be a part. And it was hurt. It hurt my feelings. Like, it hurt me. And so they avoided me. And so finally came into my office and sat down and was like, I want to apologize. I know that this wasn't right and what I did wasn't right. And I wanted to say, you really were great. You helped me. I tell everybody you helped me. And I'm just sorry. And I wanted to make it right. And I never got to a place where I could make it right. And so now I'm here. And I said, thank you. Right. It hurt my feelings, and I appreciate you acknowledging that. And so we sat and we talked for like close to an hour, and they were sharing some things with me, and and I was giving some support and advice, and light bulbs were going off, right? Oh, I can do that. I hadn't thought about it that way. Wow. Nobody ever put it that way. I said, I've been here all the time. You running from me, right? You running over here, you running over there. I've been here all the time. And so get to a place where you just address whatever the elephant in the room is. Trust your instincts, but make sure that your instincts are rooted in love, right? Rooted in wanting to help and support and not for selfish reasons, right? To fulfill something in you that will make you feel good momentarily. Look for those things that will sustain you. And she left with a whole new game plan. Came in with one game plan, left with another game plan, just out of a conversation. And it was like, you could do this. Everybody loves you, right? The people you think you have problems with really do love you. But can you receive what they have to say in order for you to get past the hurt or go through the hurt to get on the other side to be able to be sustained? So I have to check back in with that person, but yeah, I don't know. That's what I would tell younger sisters. Like, and I try to tell my child that, Lord have mercy. But coming from a parent, it's like I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm okay with her finding it wherever she finds it. And I say to youngsters, it may not be your mother or your grandmother or your auntie that you can get those messages from. It may be a teacher, it may be a community member, but seek those people out and make sure that you have somebody who is not only looking out for your career interests, but also looking out for your well-being, and showing you love in that way.
You mentioned the fact that it's important to be mindful of who folks are reaching out to, right? So if you're reaching out to elders, perhaps some elders have not done the work that's needed to help folks in regards to not only career aspirations, but overall wellness, well-being. What conversations do you believe that we should be having concerning self and communities with our elders, whether or not it's mothers, aunties, grandmoms? What conversations are we not having?
We're not having any conversation, not real conversations. And I know Sherella because a friend of mine, we went home. This is somebody, I grew up in a small rural community. So I went to school. I started kindergarten with the same people I graduated high school with. So we've known each other for 30 plus years, right? We grew up together. And she and I had this epiphany. I was like, we're not talking. It was during my dissertation stage. And, my research is all around African Americans and the trauma experiences of race in rural Southern communities. And so I said, we need to go home because we're not having conversation with the elders. So the young people, so it came because my mom was at the T-Mobile store. She had gotten a new phone. I sent her a phone. She goes to the T-Mobile store. The young man is saying, yeah, we have to do this, 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 and this. And she said, well, all I need is this, 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 and this. And the guy was like, no, but we're going to do this and we're going to do. So she calls me. And I'm listening to her say what she needs. Then I said, okay, put me on the phone with him. And he gets on the phone. I'm like, okay, I understand. Get the phone back. Put me on speaker. Okay, mom, this is what he's saying. Okay, young man, this is what she's saying. You're saying the same thing. The language is different. You're talking about young people who came into technology. It was just there. And you're talking about older adults who created it, learned it at its infancy, right? So the language that kids are using now doesn't translate to older adults. So they just don't talk. We don't have deep conversations. We don't have difficult conversations in the community between elders and young people. So me and my girlfriend, we got together, said, let's see if we can put together a community conversation. We bring the elders and the young people in the room together and we facilitate. Sherella, when I tell you the older adults were like, we didn't know that that's what they were going through. And the young people were like, we didn't know that you really did pave a way for us to be where we are right now. And there was so much love in the room when it was all said and done. There were older adults, there were elders in the room in their 80s. And there were young people in the room who were 5 and 6 years old. And they were talking and they were listening. Everybody, and it was such a beautiful experience. And folks were like, this was pre-COVID. Okay, when are we doing this again? And then COVID hit and we couldn't, and it kind of fell by the wayside. So I need to revisit that. But there's no space that's safe for people to be vulnerable, as you said, for older adults, elders to be vulnerable, for children to be vulnerable. We talk at each other using language that neither one understands. And there's nobody in the middle, right? And I'm in that sandwich generation, right? I'm straddling both, raising kids and caring for aging parents. And so we're not having the conversations because we don't understand each other. The language is so different. I don't know if you talk to young people. I have to tell mine because they start talking, Sherella, and they talk so fast, they blur their words. Like, what did you say? I said, no, that's not what you said. Use words. Like, articulate each word so I understand what it is that you're saying, because you're just running it. But that's because they have all of these influences. They're on Instagram now. God only knows what other social media sites they're on. I don't know. And they know I don't know. And so we had conversation. I trust you to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. And so, and that's all I can do. You can't, as much as like I told you I had a conversation with my daughter's principal yesterday, and I'm in her office and I was trying to call my husband because he couldn't come. And so I was trying to get him on my cell phone. I said, I don't have a signal in here. And she said, oh yeah. I said, oh, I'm in the belly of the beast now. I can't get a signal. She said, yeah, once you come in, you can't get a signal. She said, but the kids can. I said, see, these kids, they know. They break through firewalls, they get Wi-Fi. And the adults are sitting there like, oh my God, I'm disconnected. My phone doesn't work, right? But the kids have access. It's crazy. I said, yeah, because I get text messages and phone calls all day long from your school. So she's getting out some kind of way. But yeah, I think we're not having conversations. And I would love, love, love to facilitate more of these kinds of conversations in communities and just give people the space. I mean, Sherella, I wish you could have been there. It was enlightening. And the kids left like everybody could take a deep breath that I feel so much better. I got to say that out loud to adults and they heard me. That just meant the world. I didn't need anything else to happen. Somebody heard me and acknowledged me that I'm hurting and I had a bad experience. But we don't have space. We don't create space. It's not a priority. Because it does take time. It takes money. Because we fed everybody, don't come in. Hey, just come in. We're gonna feed you. We just want to have a conversation. We just want to open up some space. So I feel like if we had more opportunities to do those kinds of things, we could get to a deeper understanding of what love is in community, where people can say, okay, my community supports me, my community loves me, my community is not shaming me. Yes, they discipline me, but they're not shaming me for the decisions that I made. So now I can love myself because I know I'm loved. I'm loving other people by serving other people. So I am fulfilling something. Even though every day won't be the best day ever, I know I have a place that I can go where people genuinely show love and I can show love. we're supposed to be, if we're not in community reciprocating love, I feel like that's why we're having a lot of the issues that we're having in society, especially in the Black community. It's our nature to love. It's our nature. Indigenous people all over the world, it's their nature to love. They love the earth, they love the sky, they love everything. You know, they see God in it. And when you can see God in everything and everybody, you know, you just naturally love. So I hope that answered that question.
It did.
Yeah.
We don't have the space, or we're not creating the space, and it's needed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like your sister circle. You created space for Black women to have a space to talk about these things, you know, to give and receive love. So
Right.
yeah.
Thank you. So in considering your primary roles, you started off saying, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, a daughter, a healer, educator. What is a reminder to yourself to circle back to feel grounded?
Like I think I said earlier, I don't do a great job. At least I didn't think I did a great job at it until I was going through this process with you. And I think as long as I am able to, my goal, even in my social work, when I started social work, my goal was always to help people feel better leaving than they did when they came in. And as long as I can keep doing that, I feel grounded. As long as I can make people feel better or make people think differently, not make them think differently, but help them come to a new way of thinking about the old situation. I feel like I'm doing my work. At home is a little different, with family is a little different, because like I said, the emotions are there, the closeness, and they don't hear me the same way people, like I go to school, my students are eating it up. I tell my kids the same things, like, she don't know what she talking about. Right. I do this all day. I do this for a living. And you dismiss me. Okay. But yeah, I mean, me and my husband, we've been together since we were freshmen in college. So we've learned to communicate, you know, the ebb and flow of what that looks like. I had to check myself for many a day, you know, kind of getting self-righteous in my thinking, and we do that, right? Um, but yeah, I try to check myself by doing that. Like when he responds to me in a certain way, I'm like, okay, is this my self-righteous self talking? Okay, let me find that other side of me that can hear what he's saying and appreciate it and try to get him to hear what I'm saying. But it works sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes you just gotta go at it, right? It's a battle. But yeah, it's worth it. I do try to check in with myself just to see, am I making an impact? Am I being valuable to somebody else? Is somebody finding meaning in anything that I say? Did I make somebody who was sad smile? Even if they're still sad, did they smile? Did they have some fleeting joy or happiness in their despair? So yeah, that's how I check myself. I don't know how to do and I have to be okay with this, Sherella. I don't know how to do you know, self-love. Like, I don't know how to do that. And having this conversation is helping me be okay with that.
You say you don't know how to do the self-love?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. not for myself. Does that make sense? Like if
Mhm.
it's for me, I don't know how to do that for me. So one of the things, so a lot of the work that I did around my dissertation, um I used oral history. So I'm listening to ancestors talk. And I had a conversation with a cousin a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how, my grandmother who died, I was not even a year old when she passed. And so I never knew her. But he talked about her being grounded in really just helping other people. Like that's what she did. That's how she cared for her home, she cared for her family, and that's how she showed love, not only for them but for herself. And it didn't come back to me until this moment while we're talking about this, that wow, some of this stuff is just generational. It's who you are. It's a part of my DNA, I feel like I'm supposed to be another iteration of what she was.
Okay.
And I can't say that I care for my family the way that she cared for hers, but I feel guilt, like leaving the kids. There's some people who can go on vacation, just the spouses go and they can have a romantic thing. I feel so guilty. It would drive me bananas to leave my children here. When they're adults and they're self-sufficient, that wouldn't be a problem. But to leave my 11-year-old and me go off to wherever, I could do it overnight, if we go somewhere, like we did a staycation down in the city, I could do an overnight and we just walk around and do the museums or whatnot. But a week, half a week, and leave her here, to fend for her, I can't do it. I would feel so guilty, you know. And I don't know so much if it's because I feel selfish or if it's more about wanting her to have the experience too, wanting all the kids to come, you all need to have this experience too. Which is why we don't go anywhere. It's like everybody can't go. There's 6 of us. So it costs to travel, right? You really have to save for big trips. Um, and so yeah, I do. I feel a sense of guilt. So I think that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just another iteration of that, I feel like. Um, yeah. But I didn't know that. I didn't have context because I didn't know her like that.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. You talked a lot about being a caretaker, a supporter. How do you know if someone loves you?
It's just, I feel like when they allow me in, they're showing love. Like the student I talked about, they allowed me in because they didn't have to. And they didn't allow me all the way in, right? But they allowed me in just enough for me to plant some seeds and to give them something that they had not received before or being in a place to receive before. Somebody could have said it to them before, but in that moment, in that space, they were able to receive it from me because there was something coming out of me that they were receiving that allowed them to do that, right? There was a space of love that was created that showed them to say, yeah, she really is genuine. Like she really does. She's really concerned, right? And for me to just really be direct, like these behaviors that you have you ever examined that to ask yourself why? And for her to say, no. but now that you say that, yeah, like that's how I know. That's how I know. And I think that that's, like my children for Mother's Day, they bought me, I have a Pandora necklace. And so they bought me Pandora charms. And I was like, you don't have to do that. Because for me, that's not necessary. I mean, I get it, but it's more performative. Not that it was not that was their intent, right? Their intent was, oh, we love to give you these things, right? But for me, it's like, clean my kitchen, come in, get the dishes washed, right? Turn the lights off when you leave a room, right? Pick up your stuff. Like, this is not your bedroom. The kitchen table, your shoes and your backpack, all of that stuff shouldn't be there. Like the things that you hear me say incessantly, though, that's how you show me love. When I can walk in the house and I don't see it, and it's like, woo, because I've been gone all day, I've been ripping and running. I just want to come home, be able to sit at my table, put my feet down, and not have to worry about stepping on your shoes because you got there before me and just left them there. You know, so at home, that's showing me love. But out in the world, and even them, like being vulnerable and allowing me in and allowing me to support them in a real way is yeah, that's how I know. That's how I know. Because if people don't love you or think you love them, they don't let you in. Not even a little bit. And in my work, I worked with folks who have been hurt. I mean, deeply hurt. I worked in folks in recovery and substance use. I've worked with folks incarcerated. I worked with folks hospitalized for mental illness. And, I hear social workers say, oh man, people are so violent and they can, you can get hurt. And it never happened to me. Did people get angry and upset and yell and scream and act like hurt you? Yeah, but they never went there because what they knew was, I care about you. Me showing up for you means I care. Me asking you questions shows you I care. So I don't know. I think that's how I know. Is when people let me in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn it back on you, right? So, and I asked folks to use their senses, right? So take us to that scene or those scenes. So when do you feel like you're loving yourself the most? So in regards to senses, like what does that feel like, sound like, taste like, look like all of the senses? What does it feel like when you're loving yourself the most?
Feels warm here. And it's this just joy that is hard to contain. And you want to tell it, but you really don't have the language for it. It's just happening. You're like, yeah, feel good today. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's go. Let's, yeah, now I want to do something good for me, right? Now I want to go walk around the track for 30 minutes because I'm energized, right? I'm ready to go. Let's get it. Let's do it. That's how I know. That's how I know. Yeah, I'm forward thinking, I'm energetic, I'm creating. Yeah, that's how I know I'm loving myself. Yeah.
Thank you. So are you working on any, let me bring it back. Are you working on any recent projects or services that you would like to share with our listeners or viewers?
I mean, I'm always working on something. Everything is always a work in progress. Yeah, I'm trying to get to completion on some stuff, but I'm always working on something and always have ideas. Like I said, love to re-energize these community conversations we were having in Southern communities. I'm working with some folks around bringing resources to rural communities, older adults. It's a fall prevention group in North Carolina that I'm trying to work with to bring Tai Chi to rural communities, isolated rural communities for older adults, more of an intergenerational kind of effort. And yeah, working on trying to bring mental health services to rural communities locally. Trying to get my oral history project off and popping. So I have so many projects, so many things I want to do. Now I'm talking to you, I'm like, dang, I need a grant. I need a grant for this work.
Okay.
I get a grant for this work. But yeah, like I said, I'm doing some trauma trainings. Trauma is my thing, it's what I do, it's my bread and butter. And it's all about how do I help, especially African Americans heal, or help facilitate healing in African American communities, because people are they're hurting. And it's manifesting in a lot of anger and people lashing out. And it doesn't, and then we get blamed for it. And that hurts my feelings because nobody wants to acknowledge the pain. All behavior comes from someplace. I tell my students this, all behavior comes from someplace. People are human beings. If you had lived a life some people had lived, who knows that you would even be able to withstand it. So have some compassion and see people for their humanity and try to be that for them. But yeah, those are some of the things I'm working on, continuing to teach, trying to inspire the next generation of social workers to be great, to be human. Everybody wants to diagnose, they want that power, honey. I just want to get the DSM and diagnose somebody. I'm like, oh my God, no, that's not the work, y'all. That's part of the work. The work is making people feel better, giving people space to feel their best in the moment. That's the work. The diagnosis doesn't matter in the sense that you can help people get to a place where they can manage themselves, and then they can deal with diagnosis. Now let's talk about your depression and anxiety. But can I help you feel better in the moment? Can we talk? So anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I am.
Okay.
Those are the things I'm working on. So listeners, send me some good energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Send that love my way so I can get this work done. I don't need my name in lights. I just need the work done. People thriving and not surviving, just surviving.
Right.
Is what my goal is. So
Agreed.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you this question. You said often throughout our conversation that a lot of people are angry, and you said that the reason why a lot of folks are angry is because they are hurting. So in speaking to that, can you share a little bit more, like, why do you think people are hurting, or what often causes this hurt?
You've heard people say hurt people hurt people. And so people are hurting because they've been hurt. Some of us come out of the womb hurt. Some of us live lives that just make us vulnerable to hurts, multiple hurt. And people being discarded hurts. And so many people in our communities have been discarded. We don't see them. We don't want to see them. We want them locked away. We don't want them in our neighborhoods. We don't want it, right? And so they're hurt, and that hurt manifests itself in anger. Depression, especially in Black communities, and anxiety looks like anger. And it's a protective factor. I'm protecting myself because the likelihood is, because of what I've experienced in my life, the likelihood is that you're not here to help, you're here to hurt. So I'm gonna put this wall up. You can come for me if you want to, but you're gonna catch these hands, right? The anger is coming from, and then you see images of yourself in media, and the language that people use, the things that you hear, and the way people describe you and your community. And it makes you angry, and it's depressing, and it hurts. And I don't know that as a community we're doing enough. I don't know that we know what to do, really. There are people, lots of organizations out there doing a lot of great work on the ground. They're just not enough. And they can't touch everybody. And everything is not for everybody, right? So we need more. We need whole communities coming up. And I'm not just talking to everybody else, I'm talking to myself too. Which is why I focus my attention on rural communities, because that's where I come from. That's what I know. I can talk to people in urban communities and suburban communities, but that takes a different skill set, right? And I acknowledge that. And so, but yeah, I that's where the hurt is coming. We live in a capitalist democracy. So money rules everything. And if you don't have it, you're trying to get it. And when that is motivation, it lends itself to a lot of devastation, because people, we don't realize that we're still the 99% fighting for scraps. I know I'm not a part of the 1%. I don't know about you, Sherella. You might be part of the 1%. I'm not. We all in the bucket fighting for scraps, right? And so people deal with stress and aggravation and loss. So yeah, it manifests itself in anger. I mean, professional people, man, creating drama. Oh my God. I mean, just out of anger. And they don't even know where it comes from. They can't name the thing, because it's always been there. My
Ever
mama,
present.
huh?
It's ever present.
Yeah. And this how my mama was, my grandma was, my daddy, everybody around me was like this. So I don't see what's wrong with it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I'm just saying that it's anger.
Right.
So a lot of disagreements. When we're angry and we can't hear, right? We can't hear and receive, to your point, the love, because you gotta want something from me if you're trying to give me something. Can't be genuine. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could get to the root of that, we would. But this capitalist democracy makes it hard. We're fighting a beast we can't see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe we can arrive at that space in a capitalist society?
I do, I think, but it takes more of us thinking in that way. I was so disappointed and hurt by what I saw around the protests around Palestine, and what was happening on university campuses with students. These are kids, these are children, these are somebody, and at GW, how they just threw away all of the tents and whatever was in the tent. And like I know, Sherella, these were students. They were in finals. They had their laptops and cell phones. If you didn't grab that stuff when they put you out, they threw that stuff in the garbage. So, I mean, just the I don't know. It just like how that to me is so malicious and spiteful and vengeful. And it's not necessary. But it's like to drive the nail We're going to squash these protests. We're going to squash your voices, and we're going to let you feel it. It's punishment for how dare you come up against an ideology that most people don't, most commoners don't want to happen. But the carnage is the 1%. I mean, they don't have a problem with it, because at the end of the day, now this is my political stuff. End of the day, it's all about the money. But yeah, so I mean, people are watching this, and they're just, if you don't care about them, you don't care about anybody. Everybody's disposable. And you're vulnerable to whatever the state wants to inflict. So that's just my opinion. But I don't know why I said all that. But oh, if we can change, yeah.
Within a capitalistic state.
I think we could.
Okay.
I think we can. I always have hope that we can. I mean, if each one touch one, if somebody finds their healing, help somebody else to heal. If you find clarity, share it with somebody, like the young lady at the car dealership. She didn't have to tell me that. She didn't tell me, oh, I wake up with gratitude and I say these show gratitude, and then I set intentions. She had no reason to tell me that. But for whatever reason, it made her feel good. We were having a great conversation, and she said, can I share this with you? I'm like, sure. So when you get a little bit, give somebody some of that. Like, share alike. And I feel like the more we come together to do those kinds of things, we could do more. But there's so much division, and it's intentional. It's to keep us fighting for scraps in the 99%. Most of us scraping the bottom of the barrel. So yeah, I don't know.
Radical hope.
Radical
hope.
Yeah, radical hope. Absolutely. Radical hope. Oh, the audacity, and that what y'all president said, the audacity of hope.
I was referring back to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with radical hope. But that's probably up. We see at the end.
Yeah. So he left a legacy. MLK did. Martin Luther King Jr. left a legacy. Some of his quotes are amazing.
Agreed.
I mean, I'm just blown away, Sherella, at what, like him, James Baldwin, like the George Washington, what they gave for nothing in return. Like they just gave it. And the intention of it, the way that they were blessed with the thoughts and the ideas that they had, and the willingness to share it at all costs. And I'm just naming a few. We can stay here for days and name the contributions that people have given. But yeah, Mary McLeod Bethune, like, they just gave. They took what they had and they gave it to whoever would take it. And that's what I'm saying. That's the model. Like, if we just use the talents and gifts that we've been blessed with and share them with other people, that radical hope becomes a reality. Because we give it a little bit. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Beautiful 2 cents.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in thinking about Dr. Michelle C's sermon, where can folks find you? Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. Don't look for me anywhere else. I have a presence there, but you won't find anything other than the things that I like. But I'm not. LinkedIn is the best place to find me if you're looking for me on social media. And you could just, search Michelle C. Sermon. And yeah,
Okay.
be able to find me there. Need to do better, I guess, but I have to have purpose in it, and I'm not there yet. I don't want to share me in that way.
Okay.
So that's my stuff, Sherelle.
You're
Nobody has
welcome.
given me a really good reason other than, oh, your brand. I'm like,
Where people can find you is LinkedIn, you're professional, right?
that's where I
Thanks.
am. That's what I want to share. How can we collaborate and move the needle to help people, right? That's that's the space I want to hold in that public forum.
Okay.
Um,
Understandable.
so yeah, I haven't learned how to use the other platforms in a way that does that for my purpose.
Okay.
But it's coming. It's a work in progress.
You'll keep me posted.
I'll keep you posted. Because yeah, one of the other things that I'm trying to work on is a podcast as well with in talking about rural people. And hopefully maybe growing a platform where we can create the space that I was sharing with you that we don't have to have these conversations. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay, I have to connect you with some folks once we wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you, sis.
Yeah, I appreciate you too.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, okay.
Always. Our story is interesting. You know that?
I think so. I think it's interesting too.
Yeah. UMBC. Who was that? Because
And Gary, is that who? Yeah.
yeah, it was in Gary. And she was like, you should come. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. She is so great. I don't know where she is. Look, we're off the topic, but
Okay, it's okay. I'm gonna tell you where she's at because
okay.
she wants where she's at in the
Okay.
public
Okay.
space.
Yeah, but she was so great. We were taking, and that's where we met in the oral history class because we were taking that oral history class together.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm still trying to get this oral history thing popping because our stories need to be archived for others to hear, for inspiration and for love, right? The contribution of everyday people in love. Because it's happening, Sherella. It's happening. We just have to elevate those voices instead of the voices that are being elevated. There's so much foolishness happening.
Agreed. And then we become socialized to think that negativity is normal. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And it's maybe for some people, but now it's like for everybody, whereas before it wasn't everybody. I've gone back to throwback TV.
Okay.
Yeah,
You said
yeah.
put in the cassettes and the VHSs? Is
No,
that what
girl,
you had?
you can stream it now.
I'm just messing with you. Okay.
Listen, instead of watching the news in the morning, I turn on Andy Griffin.
Yeah, I stopped consuming the news in the morning years ago.
Yeah, I can't do it anymore. So I turn on Andy Griffin and I watch Andy and Barney and Opie and AB. Like,
Yeah.
or Fred and Lamont.
Sanford and Son.
Yeah, I need I need some joy in the morning. And they never fail me. Never fail me. And it brings my grandmother back to me, because we used to watch it. My paternal grandmother, she would watch all of those shows. So it kind of, brings in their spirits too. And gives me that kind of uplift. That's why I specifically watch those shows.
Okay.
Those were
How do
shows.
we continue the memory?
Yeah. It calls them back because I know they're watching them with me and we're laughing at the stuff. Because I only laugh at the stuff that I know they laugh at.
Aww. So thank you again, sis, for sharing your journey and reflections on love during this season in your life. Thank you, sisters, supporters, and sponsors for listening. And as always, love is real and eternal. In community, peace.
Hey sis, subscribe, comment, and leave a 5-star review if you enjoy the show. To encourage other sisters on their journey, share the show with them and tag @Lirae Journey on Facebook and Instagram. I'll see you in the chats. Listen to the Lirae Journey podcast on all platforms and follow us on social media @Lirae Journey. You can also find us online at podcast.mckissickhealth.com. That's podcast www.mckissickhealth.com. So come on in.